Absolute Duelist here, coming at you with a One Piece video today. And in today's One Piece video, I have for you my first place and second place from my first two OP04 locals, Rebecca deck profile. Now, in my personal opinion, I really like this deck. This deck has performed really well in the first two locals that I took it to, being able to beat out, literally in the first one, Lucci, Smoker, and also Doro, which is pretty much one of the easiest decks and one of the best decks that you can possibly play. And then in the second locals, we ended up winning against Kid, Katakuri, Whitebeard, and Nami, coming second in that locals, actually only losing, funny enough, not to the Nami, but to the Whitebeard deck, because he had literally triple Rush Luffy and also the 1/9 Whitebeard. So we had trouble there, but outside of that, the deck performed really well throughout all of the games that we played. It had a great turnout, it had a great way of just like consistency and everything along those lines, that I really wanted to showcase the deck to you guys. I wanted to show you it, I wanted to give you guys a look at it, and I wanted to give you guys a look at my ratios so you guys can see what you could potentially play in the deck as well. Because in my personal opinion, I think Rebecca is another one of those decks in the game that's very, and I mean very, similar to Yu-Gi-Oh! It's a deck that just has a lot of control potential, it's got a load of consistency, and it just swings for very big attacks, which obviously I know Yu-Gi-Oh! Players will love, so I thought this would be another great deck to show you guys, not for just my One Piece fans, but also my Yu-Gi-Oh! Fans. Because if you want to try out One Piece, just like how I played Trafalgar Law, because I really like the deck because it's very similar to a Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck, Rebecca is another one of those decks that you guys should probably try, because it's very similar to a Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the video so you guys can see the cards that we're playing and the ratios that we have. So starting off, this is the leader, Rebecca. She's a very good leader. She can't attack, but she does gain benefits because of that. She has a very insane ability that it has, if you have 6 or less cards in your hand, you can rest one Dom to go ahead and look at the top 2 cards and add one of those cards that is dressed Rosa type to your hand, and also gains the ability of dual color with 5 life, which every dual color leader actually doesn't have 5 life, it has 4. So this has the benefit of that, even though it can't attack. It gains a very broken ability, getting a search every turn while also filling up your trash because it trashes the other card. So the card is very good, the deck is very strong. So let's go ahead and get into the actual cards in the list outside of the leader. So starting off, we play the 4 Rebecca character. She's very good. She's just your generic searcher where she can add a Dressrosa type card to your hand from the top 3 cards of your deck and then trash the rest of the cards. Black tends to trash a lot of its cards from its deck. Next, we're playing the 4 Olympus. These are the decrease cards. Essentially, this card does is you can go ahead and decrease a character by 4 cost, KO one of your other Dressrosa type characters, and then trash 2 cards from the top of your deck. He's just the best decrease card in the deck because of he doesn't have to attack to use his ability. He gets you in range to kill things like 10 drops and also 9 drops with stuff like 3000 Wells and True Bastardo Sword. It's just a very good card and is the best one to play with decreased cost. For another card though that we play that also decreases cost, we play 2 Hyruujin. When I was testing this deck, I was trying like Kuzans, Ishos, everything along those lines, and I found that Hyruujin was just the best card to play out of all the other decreased cards in the game, just because yes, it does conflict with some of the other cards that we play, and it does conflict with cards like Leo and Cavendish and all these other cards, but I really liked this card for one reason alone. It's 6 cost. So essentially the logic behind this is you can go ahead and kill a 10 cost with 10 Don. So if you have the Hyruujin and you also have a True Bastardo Sword with 15 cards in your trash, you can go ahead and play the Hyruujin and then rest your leader, decrease a 10 cost to 6, and then go ahead and use the True Bastardo Sword to go ahead and just KO that character. I really liked that fact and I thought it was just better for that, and it has a load of other benefits as well, being a 7k swing, 1k counter. Like, I really just did like this card overall, so that's why we're playing this card in the deck, and only at 2 because we want to see Olympus more, obviously, because Olympus has just got a lot of synergy with a lot of other cards in the deck, but Olympus is still a card that's very decent as well. And I will be honest guys, the curve that we're normally playing is with in this deck when we're going Don wise is normally cards that cost you 3 to 6, so you realistically don't want to be playing cards that cost higher unless they're really impactful. So that's kind of the reason why we're playing this ratio here. Continuing on though, the only other cards that we play that decrease cost is 4 Suru. Suru is essentially in this deck because of basically it's a 2k counter where you can go ahead and decrease anything by 2 cost. Now obviously this isn't insane because 2 cost isn't huge, isn't massive, but this is very good in the early game with like heroes, where if your opponent has a free cost, maybe like an Okiku or something, you can go ahead and drop the Suru and then drop something like heroes to kill it because it will be on one cost. Like, a lot of the cards in the deck do revolve around one cost kills, so you want to be able to facilitate that as well, but also having the ability to just go ahead and have a 2k counter as well, because this deck does need a lot of 2k counters. I believe we're playing about 12 2ks in the deck, so this is mandatory 4 of just because of that as well. Continuing on though, onto the cards that will actually do the KOing of your opponent's characters, we play the 4 Kyros. He is absolutely busted. Like, he can go ahead and rest your leader or the Corridor Colosseum to go ahead and prevent himself from being KO'd, and he also has the ability on play, if your leader is Rebecca, to go ahead and KO a 1 cost or less, and then trash the top card of your deck. Now, this card is absolutely insane for a lot of reasons. One, it has great synergy with something like Olympus, where you can go ahead and use Olympus' ability, attempt to KO this, then just rest your leader or the Corridor Colosseum so it doesn't die, and then you have to decrease something by 4, so you can go ahead and use like the True Bastardo Sword to go ahead and get rid of it. And it's just very, very good because of that, because it's just very strong. And because your leader can't attack, this is actually the best character in the deck because it can't be removed. Like, being able to swing this every turn is very detrimental because it will be allowing you to get rid of your opponent's cards in hand. It will be allowing you to get rid of their life. It will allow you to get to that, like, 2 life range to be able to essentially kill them at the end of the game. So it's just a very, very good card because of that, because it can't be KO'd and has removal built in. So you want to be playing 4 of this. And then the only other removal character that I'm playing is actually Cavendish. Now, I know a lot of people are a bit iffy on Cavendish, but I actually really, really like Cavendish. I think Cavendish is a very, very strong card for a lot of reasons. He has the ability that says when attacking, you can go ahead and rest your leader to KO a 1 cost or less character, and then trash the top 2 cards of your deck. So he is very, very good because of that. So I really do like the card. Like, just being able to KO a character, but also being able to attack active characters, in my personal opinion, is very, very strong. And he's one of the better turn-free plays as well because of this. So I just really like him. He's a great card in my opinion, so we want to play him in the deck. But those are the only characters that actually use to KO things. The other things that we use to kill is with events, where we're playing the 4 True Bastardo Sword. This card is just really, really great. If you've got 15 cards in trash, then you can go ahead and KO a 6 cost or less, and if you don't, you can KO a 4 cost or less. It also has the trigger ability to go ahead and kill a 5 cost or less by resting your leader, so it does have a lot of ways to kill in it, and it's pretty much just the black version of Jet Pistol. Like, it's literally just black Jet Pistol. So it's just a very, very good card, very strong card, and very helpful card there. Next, the only other removal event that we're playing is the free 3000 Worlds. Now, the reason why we're only playing 3 of this is because I really didn't like this at 4. This deck already has a load of cards that don't have counter, and I felt like this was one of the weaker cards in the deck. And I know you're probably saying, wait, 3000 Worlds is weak, but this card is insane. It puts a card to the bottom of the deck. But the reason why I don't like this card as much as True Bastardo Sword is because essentially this can't kill a 10 cost in this deck. If I want to kill a 10 cost with this, I need to be able to play the pretty much the Olympus, KO something, and then also play a Suru or already have Hyrugian set up, which is a lot of setup in my personal opinion. So I chose to play this at 3 because of that, but he's also very, very good. Like, don't get me wrong, this is just my reasoning to why I'm playing 3 of it. It's very strong in the deck as well, just because it can go ahead and deal with a lot of the black cards that you can't normally deal with. Like, you can't deal with stuff like Porcelino, Fukuro, and this essentially deals with it, and even your opponent, if they're on Rebecca, you can't deal with their Kiroses. So this is how you go ahead and deal with that. I choose to play 3, but this card is still really, really strong. It's another removal card. It does come up quite a bit in this deck as well, so we play 3 of it. Like, I think this is enough removal in the deck as well. Like, we're playing what? We're playing 13 removal cards, so I feel like we have more than enough, and I like the ratio that I'm playing as well because of it. And then continuing on to blockers, we are playing only 10 blockers as well. We play 3 IDEO, 4 Bartolomeo, and then 3 Sabo. This is pretty much my ratio. We play 3 IDEO because he's probably the worst blocker out of them. He is 2 cost, which is nice, but he's very easy to kill. Play the 4 Barto because he's a 2k counter on top of being a blocker, which is just absolutely insane in my opinion. And then we play 3 Sabo because he does fill a lot of the boots. I don't really want to play him at 4 though. And the reason behind that is, 1, he's a 5 cost, so he does take a lot to just play him, but he has a lot for that bit that you're going to use to play him essentially, because he is a very strong blocker. Essentially what he does is, he's a 6k blocker, so he gets the free swings out of the way. If your opponent wants to swing with a 5k, you block with him, and you prevent that swing from hitting. Very strong, right? But on top of that, you also have an on-play ability that says none of your characters can be KO'd until your next turn by abilities, and also you draw 2 and trash 2. So this facilitates a lot in the deck, where you're going to go ahead and draw 2, fill up your trash, getting it closer to that number 15 that you want in there, and also protecting all of your characters, which is very, very nice indeed. So he's just a very insane card, and he also has some synergy as well with Olympus too, where if you play Subbo, you can use Olympus's ability without KOing a character, which is very, very good as well. So he's a very strong card. I only choose to play 3 of him though, because I felt like 4 would be too much. I didn't really want to play 4, and it just feels like 3 is more than enough. But we only need 10 blockers in my opinion, because that's like 20% of the deck is blockers, so we should most of the time be seeing them to protect our life. And then going on to cards that aren't super relevant but are needed to be played, we play the 4 Gaiats. This is just essentially used for a 2k counter. It does have the ability to give your Dressrosa type characters the ability to attack active characters, but we're already playing enough characters that do that, so yeah, he's just essentially a 2k counter. We'll trash him majority of the time. Then the Colosseum that we're actually playing, the stage, we're playing 3 Corridor Colosseum. Need to play this at least 3. I think 4 is too much, but essentially what this card does is, if your leader is Dressrosa, all your Dressrosa type characters have Rush, specifically into characters. So pretty much, you can go ahead and swing into your opponent's rested characters the turn that they're played. So if you go ahead and like drop, for instance, your Kyros, it can attack a character the turn it's played. So I go ahead and drop Kyros. I see that my opponent has a rested Sanji blocker. I go ahead and swing into it. It deals with the problem, right? Like, that's essentially what this card does. It gives us Rush, which is very, very nice. You can't attack the leader, which is a bit unfortunate, but it's very strong because it just gives us the ability to clear more. It gives us great synergy with Cavendish, where we drop the Cavendish while this is on the board. We can then go ahead and swing into an active blocker, remove a 1-drop on top of that. Like, it's just a very, very good card, and I chose to play 3 of it for that reason, because you want to see it in the early game. You have the ability of Rebecca to go ahead and siphon through your deck as quickly as possible to get to it, and that's pretty much the whole reasoning behind it. You want to see it in the early game, you don't want to see too many of it, so I feel like 3 is the perfect number for this card, pretty much. And then the most important cards in the deck, we are playing the 3 Monkey D. Luffy Gear 4 and 3 King Kong Gun. These are the single 2 most important cards in the deck, and they each have their own purpose. Essentially, we'll start off with the King Kong Gun. King Kong Gun is very important because what this card does is you can target a Dressrosa character and give it 6k power. Or if you have 15 cards in the trash, you can go ahead and give it the 6k power and also give the character double attack. So this essentially allows you to hit your opponent's life twice, getting through the life that you weren't able to get through in the early game because your leader can't attack, right? This gives you that ability to get there, and also drains the opponent's hand, meaning that your leader not being able to attack isn't so dead anymore. It's not so bad anymore. And what is really good about this card is when it comes into Monkey D. Luffy Gear 4. What Monkey D. Luffy Gear 4 does is this card can attack active characters. So when you're playing it with the Colosseum on the board, you can go ahead and play it, swing into characters right away, right? You're putting a 7k swing straight into characters. But this card has a lot of other uses in the deck, which will make it so important. 1, this card can go ahead and return 7 cards from the trash to restand itself. So if you go ahead and attack with it first, and you've got 7 cards in the trash, you put 7 to the bottom of the deck in any order that you choose, and then restand it so you can swing again. Now it does freeze it so it won't restand during the next refresh phase or stand phase, or whatever you want to call it, but it is very important to be kind of careful with our times. But what makes this card so powerful is during the end game, where you have like maybe 30 cards left in trash, you're basically stacking your deck every turn, so you know every card that you're going to be drawing, getting removal, putting blockers there, whatever you're going to be doing with this card, because you siphon through your deck very quickly, guys. It's very important that you have this so you never deck out, because if you hit that 0 number, you instantly lose. This card also gives you the ability to just kill your opponent. Literally, like, this is a very, very strong card, because pretty much when you play this, the following turn, if you have the Gum Gum King Kong Gun, what you're going to do is you're going to just go ahead and put the King Kong Gun on the Luffy. You're going to go ahead and give it 13k with double attack, and then you're just going to slap 7 more Don on it, and then swing for 20k double attack. Oh, your opponent's on 2 life, they go from 2 to 0, then you're going to restand it by putting 7 cards from your trash into your deck, and then you're going to swing for another 20k double attack. Like, you're just going to kill your opponent 9 times out of 10. This is the biggest swing in the game pretty much, because you're swinging 40k essentially, but 20k twice, and it's just going to go ahead and guarantee the game for you. So like, these two are the very most important cards in the deck. This is going to allow you to get those hits in that you couldn't get in the early game, and this is going to stop you from decking out, it's going to stop you from losing the game, and it's also going to give you the ability to remove characters. It's going to give you the ability to win the game for that massive 20k swing twice. Like, this card is just very, very important. But guys, this is everything for the deck profile. I really do like this deck, guys. I think it is a perfect example of a control deck where you are removing characters, you are stopping your opponent from playing the game, you are putting your opponent on your terms, telling them that, yeah, you can play your cards, but I'm going to deal with those cards and then play my cards in response. That will just essentially end up with me having like 5 characters on the board and you having no characters on the board, which I think is just insane. Like, I really think this deck is so strong, so powerful, and has a lot of contingency plans involved in it as well, and a lot of thought process too, that really does show why this deck is probably one of the best decks of OP04. Like, it has a great win rate against a lot of the decks in the format. Its worst matchups are literally just Katakuri and also Nami. Nami because it's a very long deck, so you will go into longer games with Rebecca, but Nami just goes ahead and decks itself out by the time you can actually kill them. And then Katakuri, it's just big swings every turn and gets to your life very easily, and you're just gaining more life in general. So it's a very hard matchup. But overall, against every other deck, I feel like this deck works really well, has a great synergy, has a great battle capability, and is just a really strong control deck in the game. But guys, that's all I actually have to say. Tell me what your thoughts are on this deck in the comments section below. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Would there be anything that you personally change to it? Would you play the 10-drop Kuzars? Would you play the E-shows? Would you play more Navy cards? I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. And for you guys out there, this deck is actually really budget. I literally built this out of 3 boxes of OP04. So if you want to play it, it is very cheap to build. You don't need a lot of money to get the deck. And yeah, I just think it's a very strong contender and a very budget build as well for you guys out there too. So tell me what your thoughts are in the comment section below. I'll see you guys in the next one. Absolute Duelist signing out. Later all.